Yeah, all right. Neil Ratner here with a story. Okay. So this past week, I posted on the anniversary of the Beatles' arrival in the U.S. for the first time, which was February 7th, 1964. Now, one of the primary reasons for the trip was to make their debut on the Ed Sullivan Show just 2 days later. And today, I thought I'd tell you a little more about the trip and the performance. But as usual, a little background first. Yeah, okay, so initially, the Beatles' U.S. label, Capitol Records, was not anxious to release their music in America, which delayed any U.S. trips for about a year. Now, Capitol finally relented, releasing I Want to Hold Your Hand in December of 1963, and by mid-January, the tune had sold over 1 million copies, and an appearance was scheduled for the group to perform on the Ed Sullivan Show. Now, Sullivan had first gotten the idea of booking the Beatles after he inadvertently ran into the group at London Airport when they were returning from a short tour of Sweden in 1963. Now, the crowds of kids waiting for the band impressed Ed. And then it happened again to Sullivan, a second time in 63, at the London Airport again. This time when the Beatles returned to play the Royal Variety Show. According to Ed, I made up my mind that this was the same sort of mass hysteria that had characterized the Elvis Presley days. CBS, the network which showed the Sullivan Show, was flooded with requests for tickets. Even Walter Cronkite and Richard Nixon called in to try and score tickets for their daughters to that week's Sullivan Show. Ed actually had to announce during the prior week's show, coincidentally, if anyone has a ticket for the Beatles on our show next Sunday, could I please borrow it? We need it very badly. Okay, now back to the Beatles. As I related in my post this past week, although they were already huge in the UK, the band wasn't sure how they'd be received in America, and there was definite nervousness on the plane. But as the plane got ready to land at Kennedy Airport, Idlewild Airport back then, I don't remember, Idlewild or Kennedy, whatever, both Ringo and Paul got excited. Now, according to McCartney, there were millions of kids at the airport, which nobody had expected. We heard about it midair. There were journalists on the plane, and the pilot had rang ahead and said, "Tell the boys there's a big crowd waiting for them." We thought, wow, God, we have really made it. Ringo was equally blown away. It was so exciting. On the plane flying into the airport, I felt as though there was a big octopus with tentacles that were grabbing the plane and dragging us down into New York. America was the best. It was a dream coming from Liverpool. Now, Murray the K, a DJ at the 1010 Wins radio station, had announced the details of the Beatles' flight number and time of arrival, and the information was repeated by rival stations WABC and WMCA, which only increased the already feverish anticipation. Now, the scene at the airport was chaotic, and after a short, crazy news conference, the Beatles were off in limos heading toward the Plaza Hotel in New York City. Now, John and his wife Cynthia took one limo, while McCartney, Harrison, and Starr took the other. Now, when Paul turned on the radio in the limo, he was taken back by what was playing. I remember, for instance, the great moment of getting into the limo and putting on the radio and hearing a running commentary on us. They have just left the airport and are coming towards New York City. It was like a dream, the greatest fantasy ever. Now, that evening, a near constant stream of guests visited the Beatles in their 10-room, 12th floor presidential suite, including Ronnie Spector and the Ronettes, of course, Murray the K, as I mentioned, and George Harrison's sister, Louise, who lived in Illinois. Now, 2 days later, at 8 p.m. on February 9th, 1964, an estimated 73 million people were glued to their TV sets, ready to watch the Beatles debut on The Sullivan Show. Now, that number represented over 60% of all the TVs in the U.S. And how many of you were part of that 73 million? I sure was. Where were you that night? Now, at the start of the hour-long program, Sullivan announced that a telegram had been received from Elvis Presley and his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, wishing the group luck. It read, "Congratulations on your appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show and your visit to America. We hope your engagement will be a successful one and your visit pleasant. Give our best to Mr. Sullivan. Sincerely, Elvis and the Colonel." Now that was a big deal, especially to George Harrison, who later said, "We were aware that Ed Sullivan was the big one because we got a telegram from Elvis and the Colonel. And I've heard that while the show was on, there was no reported crimes, or very few. When the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan, even the criminals had a rest for 10 minutes. Now, after the show, Murray the K took John, Paul, and Ringo to the Playboy Club. George had been sick with tonsillitis and went back to the hotel. So with a police escort, the four left the Sullivan Theater on like 54th Street, I think it is, and walked a few blocks to 59th Street, where they were ushered into the Playboy Club's penthouse lounge for dinner. And after dinner, Murray took them to the Peppermint Lounge, where they danced the twist until 4 o'clock in the morning. Eventually, they did a concert in Washington, followed by 2 at Carnegie Hall, and then they went home February 22nd. Incredibly famous already in America after a very successful first time in the U.S. All right, so that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to be a little boring. Here's my book. It's still available on my website, www.neilratnerrockdoc.com. Go on the left, buy the book, fill it out, I'll autograph it however you want. And I have good news. If you go to Amazon and you punch in Rock Doc, you will be able to get not only the soft cover, the ebook, but now the audiobook is available. And it's read by me. And although I don't do them well, I do all the voices. And I think you'll find it a trip. All right, let me play my little thing. That's it, Neil Ratner Rock Doc. I'm done for today, but I'll be back sometime in the middle of the week, maybe around Wednesday, with another story. I'm going to do one story during the week and one story on the weekend. All right, beautiful sunny day out today, a little bit cold. I wish everybody a great weekend and a great week ahead. This is Neil Ratner Rock Doc. I'll see you real soon. And remember, keep on rocking. Bye.